Hey, this is Tom Arnold, and you're listening to the whole podcast.
All right. Welcome to The Whole. I am Rob Sprance.
I'm Lori Levine.
I am very, very happy to be joined by Jay Mohr, who is cracking us up and reading us poetry. I almost didn't want to start the show. Thanks for coming, Jay. I just watched your special. I should get this out of the way right now. Jay Mohr has released his new special, American Treasure, and it's available on Comcast, Amazon Prime Video, Spectrum, Apple, YouTube. Basically, Jay Mohr is all up in you right now. You're going to get it anywhere, and it's through the Comedy Dynamics Network hybrid distribution system.
Thank you, brother.
Great. The special was great, dude.
The special's awesome.
Yeah, very fun.
I really love it. That was the second hour I shot that month, and I was so proud of it because it was hour number 2. There's no B-sides, and I actually, to be honest with you, I was at a screening with like 4 producers and the director, and I was kind of embarrassed because I kept going, "Oh wow!" I kept like the callbacks. Especially like the rock concert bit, Wilford Brimley, McLaughlin, the thing, the callback to the soldier and our troops and stuff. I was impressed. It made me very happy. We're supposed to shoot a second show that night, and I just went home. I'm like, no, that's that. No editing needed.
Done.
How long between specials was it from your last one?
Yeah, 2 or 3 weeks.
No, I mean like the released an actual special, like a release.
6 years.
Oh wow! So it's been a
It
while.
was 2015, I think, right?
Yeah, so almost 6 years. Yeah. This one, if you go to jmohr.com, my website, it's one of those things you order. Comedy Dynamics is distributing it to all those platforms. Instagram, I think it's a dialogue box that you click down on Instagram and you read like what somebody wrote. It's there, the link. And jmohr.com is the link. And you know, if you just type in Jay Mohr American Treasure, I'm sure you'll find it. But enough of the pitch. Now we can
Yeah, because I'll tell you, like there's a fine line because I don't want to give stuff away, but I know some of the stories that you've told already.
Go ahead. No, just one. The walking one. I was like.
Well, so there's one thing that I think of right away. You just mentioned it was the rock concert. The thing that you're so right on with the talking at the concerts. It's getting fucking ridiculous.
You guys sing it now. Nobody came here to hear me sing. Nobody ever left a concert going, "You were excellent, bro. Where are you going to be next?" Hey, the guy in front of us was awesome, right? Yeah, I was just,
It starts to get crazy how many impressions that you can do, because I didn't know you can pull out a Bono, and I've seen you too. I'm with you on the U2 thing. Like I've seen them so many times, and it is kind of like this next level experience. But there are times where you're like, okay, shut up now. It's so true.
A confession to make. I love you, man.
Yeah.
I am real. I put the H in white when I listen to you too. And that Bono, by the way, I learned the hard way is the same impression. I was at a radio show and I go, "All right, Eddie Vedder, Pearl Jam, yeah. Lori Queen is gonna join us back." Bono is just more breathy. It's all right. Oh, just last year, 2 million children. Oh. Look, when I go see concerts, Pearl Jam was the show that got the bit started because they were at the Long Beach whatever it is said in the joke. It's truthful, whatever I say on stage. We're at the sports arena. We're at the sports arena. I was like, yeah, I know. I came here.
I parked outside.
Ticket. Like, it was just so weird that he's like, I don't know if you know this or not. All right. We were doing Goat Boy, doing Eddie Vedder. But I like Pearl Jam too.
And a lot of times, like you're at these concerts, like I'm at it with a buzz, so the last, like you just want to keep singing. And there was one time that I saw you too, I remember, like, and he does it. It's weird because Bono seems to, like, there's always that segment. Like you brought up that there's a segment in the concert that he kind of stops to break it down. Yeah. But they had just done a fantastic song, and like you're all pumped, and he's like, "I want to talk about apartheid for." I'm like, "Oh, come on, man!" It's like,
like apartheid's done. We need those vehicles. We had like bond vehicles for like murder. Sometimes I made like They were ever see the apartheid trucks they had? They were just for dispersing black Africans. It was insane.
Yeah.
And they look like something a kid made, like with an erector set. Like they don't look like they should be able to draw. It was just awful. That was long ago, man.
Yeah. He, and so, when he shows this stuff, but I did also realize that the song out of the speech is always like 10 times better, because I don't know if it's you just can't wait for it, because they always throw like a Streets Have No Name, and then all of a sudden you hear like those keyboards and like you go crazy.
Let me tell you something, Rob. I've never seen live. I've seen you probably 11 times. I've never seen Where the Streets Have No Name and not cried like I was getting. Oh my God! I saw them at the Super Bowl. Patriots Rams. Patriots were underdogs, 18-point underdogs. And I was doing a joke. I was at Fox Sports, and I kept saying to like members of the Patriots at halftime, when you guys are down 20, you gonna come out and watch U2? Boy, yikes! We were all wrong. But I remember they did. It was after 9/11, and they had all the names died alphabetically on these silk screens. And I was with my dad, and it's the only time I ever saw my dad cry. And the song was over. Football was ridiculous. And my dad looked at me. He was sobbing, and he goes, "They only got to the ends.
Yeah.
Or they only got to the O's, son."
Yeah. I know.
Yeah. That was transformational, man. I have goosebumps right now.
Yeah, it's something else to see them. But you mentioned going to another concert, which you only touched on, which made me right away go, I got to ask him more about this, because I've seen this band too as well, and I can only imagine how disgusting this smelly audience must have been. You saw Maiden in Europe, right? Did you see where?
No, that's actually made up. I just needed to find a home for that. I say Brazil.
Oh, it's
and I'm seeing you in Brazil. It's your turn to sing it. That's what it is. Yeah, I just needed different, like a chart. I just needed like to put the strings in different polar opposites.
Perfect. It was perfect, because the first thing I thought of is, man, that must be a really smelly scene. And because I've seen those European concerts, like 100,000 people just all pressed against
the metal concerts in Europe.
Yeah.
They're insane.
Lori's right. That's what I was thinking too. Like those metal bands, I think you'd be surprised by like the Nordic, the Swedes, the Norway.
The Germans, they love it.
Yep.
They're just stinky, freezing cold white people.
Yeah, pretty much.
You could be multi-millionaire and just play Brazil and Norway, Sweden, and something else. Whatever the other. The third one, Finland.
Yeah, that's another one too. Do you ever see the documentary about the band Anvil?
Oh, it's amazing.
Isn't that cool? It's
actually good.
Yeah, it's like they show, like I was never a fan of them at all, but everybody told me how good it was. But it shows you how sad. It's like the movie The Wrestler, only a documentary about this metal band that, they couldn't quite make it. So they go on this tour of Europe, and there's like 7 people. It's so sad, man.
I remember admiring them for never mailing it in live. I was, and I never heard of them until that documentary.
Right. Yeah.
Same with like Rocky Erickson. I forget the name of that documentary. He went nutty. You like documentaries? Like, is that your thing? I love them.
I mean, yeah, I'm into that stuff too. I'll watch anything, but specifically, I dig ones that are about music and about comedy and stuff. I'm trying to keep stuff light right now, especially with all that's going on. Like even when I watch a special, like I see a full crowd of people, and I'm like, man, I miss that. Like it's just. It's so weird. Like I have comic friends that are doing shows like with cars, like they're pulling up in cars and like honking the horn. Who is
like when a joke, Shuley from the Howard Stern show, when a joke is funny, people honk their horn.
Can you imagine?
So he's like, wait, is it funny or do you need something? Am I in your way?
How do all those people hear a joke if they're in a car? Is it on
a microphone?
Yeah, they still have the PA system, but I guess they rolled down there.
I guess you put your window or open your sunroof.
I'm doing a show Saturday. It's outside, so I don't know.
Outside is fine, but it's not a drive-in.
I hope that's outside also.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I would think it's in a garage.
In an indoor parking garage.
Yes,
comedy on a ferry.
Ferry's not a bad idea. It's kind of cool.
It's good because they can't leave.
That's true.
That's great. I mean, not now during COVID, but like Long Island Sound, like going over to, that's only like 20 minutes, I guess.
Yeah.
Not if you circle.
Yeah.
Now, I want to get back to a lot of stuff in the special in a bit, especially in the Clint Eastwood stories. Phenomenal.
That's great. But no, my favorite thing is I didn't know how great Jay's impressions were.
Yeah. Well, Saturday Night Live.
I didn't know they were this good, though. Norm Macdonald, my favorite comedian.
Rory Levine, and the podcast with Rob Sprant, all the phrases, and thank you for those compliments. What's interesting to me is some people only know me as an impressionist. Some people only know me as an actor. They're like, I didn't know you did comedy. Some people go, I never knew you acted. Some people say, I didn't know you wrote a book. It's kind of weird. It's like career buckshot. There's
right.
like over the target, but that's why we're alive, is to go experience as many things as possible and have fun doing it. I don't want to be at a desk or something. I just want to hang out with my friends and make people laugh.
Yeah.
What's your best impression that you can do that you think?
My manager Barry Katz is probably not famous. Well, he's got a great podcast, Industry Standard. Hey, I have a gig for you, but you don't know. I don't know.
Yeah, the walk-in is really good.
The walk-in's great.
I tell you what what you did was
enjoy that. It's a hit. It's like the Eagles playing Hotel California.
I'm gonna pee.
What happened to that story with me in it? Impressions I get stuck in. If I start doing Pacino and Harvey Keitel, and those are the ones I get like stuck in, I have to get out like.
The Pacino I heard on Mohr Stories, and
you're doing a podcast. What kind of people are you? Your calling card. Your hello to the fucking world. What do you do for a living?
Oh my God, I'm crying.
Called the whole. I'm in it. What do you do? You drink Modelo's and put them in a fucking cooler? Young Pacino, Attica.
He sounded like Tyne Daly from Cagney and Lacey.
See, what a lot of people don't nail what you do, though, and on Mohr Stories you nail this, you don't just do the yelling Pacino, you do the regular talking Pacino, too.
Bronco from the flipping Bronx.
See, that's...
I've been made man. You ain't fucking made man. Dinner! You are an absentee landlord.
I love when he still got a little bit of young Pacino in him. Like I don't know what movie. There's some movies.
I don't know, Pop. He had that other kind of voice about him.
Oh, you got guys out there. They're doing undercover work. They're wearing black shoes and white socks. It's not good. Wyoming's not a country sound, but that's okay. Who else wants warm climbs? He says climbing.
Imagine being Jay's neighbor and just like
or imagine being Cleo the dog.
Imagine being me.
This is true. So when you get, I want to ask about Saturday Night Live a little bit because
I'll give you an answer. I guess my favorite impression to do is Norm Macdonald, because to be able to think like Norm, who's infinitely more intelligent than me, it's just a fact. Mm-hmm. And it's like Russell Brand, I can't ad-lib as because he's too smart. I have to have something prepared, like a sentence. Right. Otherwise, I get lost trying to search for the words. Norm, I worked with for a couple of years on Saturday Night Live, and I know, I know at least, I just never want anybody to think I'm teasing Norm by doing the impression, because I adore him. And I've heard him do imitations of people's imitations. I sound like a retard, I was like, oh no. So I always want to make sure I sound like him without it being like cartoonish, because I would hate for him to think I was teasing him.
Yeah, you do. So did you do impressions to get the gig at set? Because you started as a writer, right?
Oh yeah, as a featured performer / writer. I think everyone that comes, I don't know if anybody's hired and not on the writing staff. I think it's kind of like boot camp. You just got to learn how to do this. Right. And it was me, Norm, Sarah Silverman, David Tell was hired as a writer. We shared an office. Chris Farley took a shit out my window.
Right? What are you? Wait, like on your windowsill, like in your office?
Yeah, well, that I closed the first special with that. The other one. So Common Dynamics wants to buy that one. I don't remember what the name of it was. I think it was like In and of Itself or something. Doesn't matter. But Chris Farley, me and David Tell, it's like 3 a.m. and Farley walks into our office. It's a rewrite night. We're rewriting sketches. There's no reason for Farley to even be in the building. He's a star. And he comes in and he goes, I don't do an impression of Farley. He goes, what are you guys doing? And we both said at the same time, we'll give you $100 to shit out the window. Like creepy twins. We weren't well. He asked what we were doing, and our answer was, what are we doing? We're giving you money because you're shitting out our window right now. Chris Farley goes, give me the money first. Now we got to come up with $100. We went office to office to office to office to office, and including $3 in coins, exactly $100. Money, we gave it to him, and the coins are stacked according to the denomination on my desk. And he just across the desk and lifts it up like this. And like in a cartoon, the coins roll off the desk into his fucking pocket, like ding, 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 ding. And then he goes, opens the window, and he goes out of the window ledge, the only thing inside the building, because the window ledge is on the back of his neck here. And the only thing inside is his face, his knees, and his toes. The rest of him is outside. Rockefeller Center, 17th floor, which is really the 16th. There's no 13th floor. And they, like, people called the police. They thought he was a jumper. Like, police came up to the office. It became obvious right away Chris Farley did not have to shit at all. He was purple with effort, like, and like, it's Chris Farley, so he's going, and after 2 minutes, which doesn't seem like a long time, but there's a human being outside of a building in the snow. Have you ever seen a Fig Newton?
Yes.
Without the Newton part. Just the fig inside part.
Like the smushed fig.
Yes, that exact size, shape, I'll get color, I'll guess consistency, balls, like the snow through the window behind him, out of Chris Farley's ass, in the window, onto my fucking desk.
Jesus Christ.
He wipes his ass with his hand. Because there's no paper, we're not writing anything. There's nothing. We're just smoking cigarettes, listening to Otis writing box set that David Tell got from Mohr for Christmas, and I'm realizing I didn't get a fucking box set from Mohr for Christmas. You're Jewish. Why are you getting this gift from the Jewish boss? I'm so confused. And then he walks in, he wipes his ass with his hand, and then he goes, oh, like coming towards us.
Oh my God.
And we run away down the hallways. And Chris Farley is magic. He's the most beautiful man I ever met in my life. It's like he swallowed Christmas lights. He's beautiful. Right now, you feel warm. That's him. Mm-hmm. And we're running, and no matter how fast we run, I am 1 year removed from college wrestling, and Chris Farley is right fucking behind me. Like a monster movie. But he's not running. He's going, and he's right there. The hallway goes single file, and there's a bookshelf sticking out. This is the last basic sentence of the, don't worry, it's ending here. And we go single file, but I got to pass a tell, so I go to pass him. My shoulder hits the bookcase, comes out, like spins around like a grandma taking off her bra on a dinner table. And I'm laying on my back. I actually went out for a second. I opened my eyes, and Chris is above me like this, and I go, you asshole, I fucking thought my shoulder. And he goes, oh, really? And I jumped up, I ran to the elevator, went down, and I jogged home. Whatever that is, 45th Street to 8th St. Mark's Place. I was insane. I'm like, just running down 5th Avenue. Like, I had to get home because the zombie with poop on his head was going to get me. What a beautiful guy.
Yeah, I mean, that was a hell of a cast that you were on with, for sure. But, you know, you... As you've talked about many times, like that's almost the negative to it too, is because you had to fight to get, you know, attention and to get airtime. Pretty much, a lot of people have said that it's not just you.
My problem was me when I was there. Like in my book, Gasping for Airtime, about that time, I was the problem because I let my ego get in the way. Like when the head writer Jim Downey says, you know, go office to office and do your impressions for the guys, I was insulted. But that's exactly what I should have done. But then I wouldn't have gotten Jerry Maguire. I would have been in New York. Mm-hmm. So I actually, you know, I did it for 2 years, and a lot of the guys didn't know I did those impressions. But also, you're the new guy. There's nobody that's brand new and just getting on all the time. I just didn't want to be a bailiff in a sketch without a line. I was like, I don't know. It's not why. This is gonna sound awful. It's not why I'm here. But looking back, you're fucking so lucky to be here, dick. Game, lay low. But if you're not being used, you forget how to be a racehorse. You got to run.
Yeah, and that's the thing that anytime somebody talks about that, and there's got to be part of a transformation where you go from someone who, when you get the gig, it's like, I'm gonna be there. This is my dream. I'm gonna be there forever. I'm gonna stay forever. But then as these things start happening, you get comfortable, and then all of a sudden you're like, I can't do what I want to do, and making a lot of these people writers / performers makes it worse, because I gotta think you don't want to write a skit for yourself because it looks like you're being selfish, but at the same time, it's a weird catch-22 there.
You're not wrong. The thing about writing for yourself is the only way you're really going to go. At first, because nobody thinks. It's like being a freshman walking home with seniors. You're in the conversation, but you're not really in the conversation. Right. They have that, because when I was hired, David Spade, Adam Sandler, Rob Schneider, Timmy Meadows, they'd all been there. They were essentially like seniors, and all of a sudden you roll in, there's nothing in common. You have nothing in common other than stand-up comedy, and they're not doing it. They're focusing on this. And it was me. It was my fault. Like, I was, I'm an alcoholic. I was drinking then a lot. I wasn't like drunk on camera or anything. Like, I'm not stupid. And panic attacks. That's when my panic started, my panic disorder. And I remember just being on live TV having panic attacks. Wow. I remember Paul Reiser was the host, and there was some sketch in like a boardroom, and I was having a panic attack, and I'm looking at the cue cards, and there's different colored Sharpie for who's in the sketch. Like, the host is always black, or like on Weekend Update, Kevin Nealon or Norm Macdonald is black, and if you're doing something, everybody's got different colors, so you know when you're up. And I remember going, I don't know what color I am. And then the sketch was over. I didn't have any lines. I mean, I like went insane. And I remember there was no pockets in my pants once for the sketch for Scared Straight Motivational Speaker with Chris. Mm-hmm. And I had to hold Klonopin, the pills I was prescribed by my psychopharmacologist, in my hand. But I was sweating so bad, I didn't want them to dissolve, but I didn't want them to fall through the cracks of my fingers on live TV. Like, I was never like present at all. I was never there. Literally, I'm realizing right now, I was never there because I was battling so much up here.
And Sarah Silverman helped you out with that, right?
In my life, she said, you're having a panic attack. This is my doctor, Noelle Taylor. She's the best. She'll help you. And I called that woman and left her a message at 1 a.m., almost 1 a.m. on a Saturday. I saw her the next day in the afternoon, was prescribed Klonopin, slept, took a 4-hour nap after I took it, and I woke up. And the euphoria of just feeling normal with regular feelings, like even the sadness, loneliness, depression, but to not be panic-stricken. It's a confounding thing. And people will ask me a lot on the podcast and emails, so I talk about it a lot. They'll email me and they'll say, like, they'll want to know about anxiety versus panic. Anxiety, and if anybody out there listening or watching, if you're a guy specifically, you will never do anything more manly than ask somebody for help. You will never do anything more fucking manly than say, I'm really depressed, I'm struggling, I need help. I promise you. I fucking swear to God, there is nothing more manly than asking for help. Please do it. You can't, you're not equipped to diagnose yourself. It's your brain, it's a neurological glitch. There's nothing you can do about it. Some people get hives, some people are allergic to eggs, who knows? We get panic attacks. But anxiety is like, my boss is a dick. When I go back to work, I get diarrhea. That's because that guy makes me feel shitty. But the panic is, I'm driving, I'm at a red light, and that car is blue, and oh my God, I'm dying. It's insane. It's insane.
And you think it got worse because of the stress of the show itself? Like, that's
where it happened. Like, and looking back through the doctor, she asked me if that had ever happened in my childhood. And I looked back, and there was a couple of times in my childhood, I started sprinting. And I was like, oh my gosh, that's what that was. And then, so yeah, she said it lies dormant and mostly in actors and interns, doctors. When you're interns at the hospital, when you go from structure to no structure, your brain just, and then back to structure, like learning the lines, live TV, or medical school, ER. It's just chaotic. Yeah. So, but I haven't had a panic attack. I don't. My last one, I was flying back from Cincinnati because I had one pill left. I didn't get a prescription refilled before I left for the gig. And flying home, I was like, "What am I going to do? I only have one left." I'm like, "Well, then take it." No, then you have none left. Ooh, and then you start talking. I'm getting my bubbles now talking about it. Yeah. But I gave it. You want me to tell you a trick? If anybody has it, the first place in your body you feel it. Like, where is that? Is it what color is it? Is it a liquid, a solid, or a gas? Is it all at once? Does it stab? And then you get to name it. And the more you kind of depersonalize it, you just realize it's this thing. It just, it takes away some of its power, the mystery.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
that's some good comedy there. We'll be right back.
You know what? But seriously, you know what? That's the difference between a lot of people. They'll come on and they'll talk about their special and they'll say a couple of things and then they'll have these panic attacks and never tell anybody about it. And that's what you're a real person. All of these people that listen have these feelings from time to time. I'm sure, I can't imagine what that first live show must be like when you wake up and you have your first one. That alone for me would probably drive me insane, because anytime I do a show, even if I'm just interviewing somebody like yourself, I get very hyper focused beforehand and it kind of comes off like I'm in a bad mood, or it's not nerves, it's hyper focused, but it's not. Once it starts, I'm fine, but waiting for it to start, that's a whole different ball game. I get in a very weird place, and this is just a podcast,
Like Tom Petty said, the waiting's the hardest part. The waiting is the hardest part. You said something interesting, I thought. And Lori, by the way, your poker face is exceptional. You said, I don't know, maybe sometimes I come across as a bad mood, and I almost interrupted you and went, "What do you mean sometimes?" I'm pretty sure every time you're probably the same level of Jesus, leave him alone. He's in his own somehow.
Well, she's lucky in the fact that we do a 10-minute sound check beforehand, so she doesn't get that much of it. But it's not even. I'm also I happen to be just a very nice person, so sometimes that makes it worse. If somebody cancels on a show twice that was supposed not a guest, but somebody on our show was gonna do the show and then last minute I can't make it. It bothers me, but I'm I can't.
That's not being hyper focused. That's somebody fucking with your income.
Yeah, I mean, to a point, but it's very weird. I can't imagine on that grand stage, Saturday Night Live, what that must have felt like, knowing when you wake up in the morning, okay, tonight's my first live show. I can't imagine what that must feel like. So I get how that would.
That's the least panic thing, is the live show. It's just what I'm supposed to be doing. If I'm a comedian, if you're a performer, that's what you want to do. It's the week leading up, and you just don't know. I didn't know what the time. No one ever told me what time to be there, ever.
Yeah.
What time should we be here tomorrow? Hey, you're paid to be here, man. And nobody I don't know what to tell you. Because looking back, they didn't give a fuck. You come in 8 o'clock at night, but if you hand them a sketch and leave, they're not. Guys, Mike Myers didn't hang out because every time sketch he handed in was perfect. It was perfect, Coffee Talk, Simon. This, that, it was fucking insane perfect. He just had it down.
Did you feel panic when you were wrestling in college?
No. It's just because I guess how Rob is with the podcast, that Uber Focus is you're tying up all loose ends that you can. Mm-hmm. If anything's going to happen, it's not going to be because of chance, because I prepared the way I can, and then you obviously can detach and have a connect. You're very good at what you do, by the way, because I forgot we were talking about me, which has never happened before ever. You go, yeah, but when you were on Saturday Night Live, I went, oh, wow, me again. This is great. So, no, the panic was independent of it. It was just what made it come out. I wasn't afraid of performing live because it's really all you do every night as a comedian. And the cameras, it's not something you can really conceptualize. On the other side of that machine is millions of people. To me, it's not scary because it's not real. Like this has 80 pages in it. This notebook, I can feel them. But if you go, there's other notebooks that are fucking huge. It's like, oh, okay, right. There's 80 people on the floor I have to make laugh with this sketch. And if they don't laugh, I stink. So I just got to make sure I make them laugh. It's not about, I've never actually thought about that on TV. I've never thought about all the people that could be watching. It's just that job at hand. I don't know if that answers your question because I keep talking.
It does. It does. And, you have mentioned in the past, too, that it's just that combination, the hazing from everybody,
I need to say that none, zero. And there was no like cutthroat, like I got fucked over because that sketch. No, everyone's just trying to stay afloat themselves to go dunk somebody else's head underwater. They're trying to tread water themselves. It was actually it was great. I was just a mess. I think that's why I hire so many young people. They're too young to be freaked out.
It's a good point. And but you turn around then and you get arguably what a fantastic role in Jerry Maguire, a fantastic film. And most of the people who, when I mentioned you were coming on, go Bob Sugar, like just go right to that. It comes out of their mouth because of the way that you played it. And I'm a huge Cameron Crowe fan in general. I'm so curious of what it was like to work with him. And then all of a sudden, so now, as if you're not in one pressure situation, now here you are doing a movie with Tom Cruise, a Cameron Crowe movie. So now you've got another. And I'm sure you're really excited about it. So how do you, when you get that, did you audition for Cameron? How did that work?
Many times, yeah. When I auditioned, well, I'll go backwards a little more with some context. There's a book by David Mamet, True and False, about acting that I recommend to anybody, even CEOs, whatever. It's just brilliant stuff. Like, get out of school and go do it already. And he said, when you have an audition, they already know who they want. It's a farce. They have an offer out to somebody. They have the plan B guy. They have the black guy. They got the person nobody really knows that well, but overseas they're big. Like, they got 6 guys they can make offers to. It's just this thing they do to kill time. So he said, when you go in, you have to create a problem. And just make them have to redo that list. And that's what happened because there was an offer out for Owen. I knew this after the fact. There was an offer out to Owen Wilson to play Bob Sugar because he did Bottle Rocket with James Brooks. Mm-hmm. And they had to rescind his offer to give me the offer. And that doesn't happen in Hollywood, really, ever.
That's a compliment right there, for sure.
Huge compliment. I did not own a suit. I had hair down on my shoulders. I looked like a pro wrestler. I was in the Heart Foundation. I had weird curly hair. And I auditioned to be the football player that Jerry O'Connell played, Cush, first.
Okay.
For some reason, I could not do a Southern accent that day. It was just Providence. Mm-hmm. My mom's from Odessa, Texas. My grandmother was Miss Texas. I was always around like Anthony Clark is a comedian from Virginia. So I had all these different voices I could pull from. And I lost it. And they go, what about the nanny? There's a male nanny. And I go, they gave me a couple of minutes to learn the lines out in the hallway. But there was a speech about this cassette he gives Tom Cruise right before he goes out with Renee Zellweger. And you think it's going to be a condom because he goes, I want you to use this. Mm. And he's embarrassed, but he hands him a cassette tape, and it's John Coltrane and Miles Davis live in Paris. But I had that cassette. Mm-hmm. So all the listing of the musicians and the kind of music was easy for me to remember because it's Cameron Crowe writing How We Feel. It's like 2 masters of jazz at the peak of their game with Cannonball Adderley on saxophone, Nate Adderley. His brother was there, so-and-so on bass, Bill Evans on piano, blah, blah, and it's just this minimalist, and I just memorized it instantly. And then after I read it for them, it was James Brooks, Richard Sakai, Cameron Crowe, the casting director, some other assistants and stuff. And then there was a silence when I was done. And there's a huge office at Sony, no one speaking, and half of them are standing up like this on desks, against desks. And I was like, this is really weird. Like, everyone's looking at the floor like something terrible happened. And then James Brooks goes, hey, how about Sugar?
Like they wanted to find a spot for you.
And they found a spot.
Yeah.
And when he said, how about Sugar? I went, oh, my God. And I said, I need time to prepare. I can't do that in the hallway. It's too great.
Mhm.
And they let me have like a week. It was a Thursday. I came back maybe Wednesday. Then I had the whole weekend. They were like, take your time. And I went in and I read with Tom Cruise. I read for them once. Then the next day, then there was a Saturday. I went in and read with Tom Cruise. It was a screen test. And he was in the same office. It was Cameron Crowe's office. And he was eating lunch when I walked in. I thought, well, that's strike one. I interrupted his lunch. And he was beautiful. Glory's like this, like you look like you swallowed Christmas lights. Like you
I'm loving the story. I don't want to interrupt you.
You really do. I thought about it before the story. Like you just have a light, and he's like that. Like if he pumped gas in Minot, South Dakota, they would have found him. Like Julia Roberts, when she first hit, you're like, who is this creature? Penelope Cruz of Vanilla Sky, that one. And basically, he tried to kill me with the scene. He didn't take it easy. He knew it by heart. He didn't have a script. He goes, hey, how's it going? I came here to fire you, Jerry. He's like, he just tried to kill me with it. And it's one of those moments where it's like, I can either be freaked out or I can show off. And I love showing off.
Yeah.
So I'm like, fuck that guy. And I just fired him. Like, you just convince yourself it's real. And there was one, I know exactly when I got the role. There's that scene where I talk, and there's a long pause. And I break it by going, it's real, you should say something. And
Yeah.
so long. When I did the scene, when I did the audition scene, that pause was so long, I could feel the tension of the pause, and then more tension because they thought I forgot my line, and they didn't know if they should say it or not. So I could like ride the wave right before somebody speaks, but make it longer and more. Oh God, say something, and I just felt the whole room go, bah, 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 like Legos clicking together. It's like that was like my first intuitive sort of reading of a room. Like I felt everybody go click, 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 click. And then Cameron Crowe, I was doing the Jeff Foxworthy sitcom, playing his brother Wayne Foxworthy, where I yelled all my lines, Jeff. And I got a call in my dressing room. I didn't know I had a phone. It scared the shit out of me. I picked it up. It was Cameron Crowe, and he goes, how'd you like to work with me for the next 3 months?
Amazing.
That's so awesome.
I gotta go do a scene in about 10 minutes, though. He's like, no, we're gonna start for a couple weeks. I'm like, yeah, wait, does this mean I have it? He goes, yeah, if you want it. And it was incredible. It was the most lavish thing. Like my office, my fake office, was that whole unit, that office, that huge one, was at Sony on a soundstage. All the phones worked. Everyone had their own business cards. Everyone had their own voicemail. I had business. I don't know how I don't have them. Bob Sugar with the name of the company. The phone number had an outgoing message they made me record too. It was just the fish tanks, like it was nuts.
Crazy. Yeah, it's that they built a full office. Like you would think that they would just find an abandoned office and work with it, but they built
Picture Perfect, Suicide Kings, Hereafter, the Clint Eastwood movie. You find some office somewhere, like you said. We shot like 2 pages a day. And then you do like Suicide Kings and it's 16 pages a day. Like, well,
it's a lot of work.
It is what it is. That changed my life. And Tom Cruise was like the best, coolest man I had ever met. When I did the audition scene, I sat, so I was always looking down a little bit diagonally, like in the cartoon, like the dotted line from eyes, and see if someone's looking. Really taller than me. I'm just kind of like, okay, like looking down at you. But then in the scene when we shot it, I was just kind of like sunken in this little chair. I'm like, oh no. I just felt like a little kid, like, hey, I came here to fire you. Maybe no game. Maybe the guys can sign my mitt. And then we did one take, and there was a weird energy, and it was me. I wasn't doing the way they wanted. And I said to Tom Cruise, I go, my chair, what I just said to you, and he goes, Cameron, he needs a bigger chair. And I went, oh, wow. And they just brought a chair in. They go, how's that? I go, they could have brought in a stool and turned it upside down. I would have been like, that feels just right. Thanks. It was amazing. Like, it was a different. And then he said to me between takes, he goes, don't ever underestimate how important everything is. I don't know why I just did Owen Wilson. Don't ever underestimate.
So he sounds like he was a really good dude, because I'm sure you get that question a lot. What is he like?
Ever. Like if I saw him at like Whole Foods or something or Ralph's and went up to him, I know it'd be like, yeah, Ellen Burstyn, I acted opposite once. I played in this movie, Playing My Heart, I'm Dying of AIDS. I'm her son. She didn't know I was gay. And the first time she finds out, because she has to visit me in the hospital, I'm dying. And I was like, how am I going to cry? There's someone crying in the script. How am I going to pull it off? I opened my eyes, and I looked into Ellen Burstyn's eyes. And the pain I felt from her. She was my mom, and she was pained. And I just started crying. It was, I never felt anything like it. The closest to that is Tom Cruise in the firing scene. It's his close-up. So they're right here on his face. And so here's the camera. So you want me next to the camera, so it looks like I'm not looking at the camera right now, but it looks like I'm looking at you guys. So I had drifted from the camera, and it's right here. And as he's getting fired, he goes, "You ungrateful."
That's so cool.
As he's acting, like this was disconnected from this. He's telling, and then he goes like, "That's good." So I go back to it, and he's like, oh, acting. It was. I haven't told that story. Oh, you never heard that story, have you?
No.
That's my invisible friend, Jesus.
That's very, very cool.
Sure. All right, Swimmers Build, we get
it. What about Cameron Crowe?
He was amazing. He spoiled me, and probably the reason I got on people's nerves in the next bunch of films, because I was so used to that democracy of ideas. I remember the scene where I'm getting clients to scramble on the phone. He had some broad strokes. He said, all right, I'm going to film you. I'm going to yell things out. You just repeat them. I go, great. He goes, that day? I'm like, it's actually like best case scenario. He's like, more money, more endorsements. I go, more money. He goes, and just go. And I go, more money, more endorsements. I'm talking, and he would go, a new millennium, 1,000 channels, your face on every one of them. I would say that. And then I would ad lib. Do you think Jerry Maguire, you really think he knows what it's like to be a black person?
Yeah, that's a great.
What Cameron did was he took my ad libs and he made a DVD and he sent it home with Tom. And then Tom Cruise watched it. And then he came up with his responses as if the client said, he says, you're not down, man. He's like, he said that? I miss your black people. The huge line in the movie is from this. Cameron gave that room, and he's just one of those guys. Like, if he sees you and gets you, you know it.
Yeah.
He never has to say to you, you know, you're really incredible. Like, I'm really happy I've met. It's Cameron Crowe, and he's letting you in his fucking movie. Obviously, he did something right. It's the most legitimizing thing. After the most legitimizing thing, Saturday Night Live.
Yeah.
Then the most legitimizing thing is, can I get movie number 2, which would make it perfect.
Mm-hmm.
And then you just, I didn't turn a lot of jobs down. Let's just say that.
So now, this is in the trailer for the special, so I'm not blowing much, and you're gonna get this question a lot. You probably already have.
Possibly give away. There's no jokes to give away.
Well, you do make a comment about Jennifer Aniston. About working with Jennifer Aniston.
I wish I could see her and tell her, because this has obviously probably gotten back to her, and just let her know, what are you going to do? Who cares? She's a beauty. Mm-hmm. She was really, this is what happened. All right, fuck it.
You're going to have to tell us.
It was craziness, and it was her first, I think, I could be wrong, I'm pretty sure it was like her first big thing. And she wanted her boyfriend, Tate Donovan, to play the role. So he was at my screening test. So was Jon Stewart, John Corbett, Billy Baldwin, Jon Stewart, somebody else like famous. And I was just a comedian. Jerry Maguire wasn't out yet. Mm-hmm. And the first day of rehearsals, yeah. I'm calling practice. First day of rehearsals, we're at Silver Cup Studios in Queens. I'm talking to Ilian and Douglas. It's like a Tarantino movie. It's a dark studio in the middle of the day. The door opens, it's blinding. You just hear click, click, click. It's her high heels. And this empty soundstage goes, 5 guys, huh? 5 guys. Hold on. Click, 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 click. She gets right up to it. She goes, 5 guys, they screen test. The one guy I don't want. That's who we got. And she walks away.
Oh, wow.
And then Doug looks at me and goes, you're going to have a great August.
That's kind of like, why didn't she want you? Is it just, I mean.
I was a nobody. and she wanted the pressure on her to deliver a movie that made money, which it did, was probably more than the pressure I felt to be the right guy for the hire. She was Rachel from Friends. Here's her movie. Let's see if it works.
But don't you think she should probably talk to someone behind the scenes about that?
You know what? If I start getting involved in what other people should do, I'll never leave my house.
I wouldn't leave your house either if I lived there.
This story, my hesitancy was only because of the follow-ups. This I know. She's beautiful. She's funny. She's obviously smart. She's rich. And if she was at my door, I'd be like, "Can I take you out for ice cream? Because I think you need daddy."
Yeah, but did she drag?
I'm not answering questions because I don't know what her intent or anything. I just know.
No. What I was going to say is did she drag it into the movie? Like, did that continue?
Well, like when we were filming, that's what I'm talking.
Yeah, like we should giving you a hard time then too.
We would slow dance at the scene. We're at a hotel, Central Park South. I think it was a wedding or something, and we were slow dancing, and there was like Broadway royalty at the table we were at. It was Faith Prince, Kevin Dunn, I think Bill Mechanic from Fox, one of the executives they put in the scene, and we'd be done with the scene and cut, and she'd go, "See?"
Oh wow!
It was fucking crazy. And the director, Glenn Gordon Caron, really took a shot on me. He created Moonlighting, and he was overwhelmed. And me and him got into it. We went to the restroom. We screamed at each other. And then we hugged. It was over, like guys do. I sat back down, and that was the day she looked at me and goes, "Can you believe this guy?" And I had the sublime pleasure of going, "I think he's terrific." But I think she's fantastic, but that's what happened. I can't reverse history. That's like when people are like, "You got to be careful telling that story. It's a little racial." I'm like, I can't change reality to make you more comfortable.
Yeah,
but I'm reporting it.
Yeah, and I want to commend you on that, especially in this day and age, because you go for it in a lot of areas where people would probably pull back right now. And there's very funny bits, and you know which ones I mean, between the nail salon, and, right? You know,
blacks, Latinos,
right? But
stop fucking at Wells Fargo.
Were you nervous to do that?
What? No.
With the whole cancel culture.
Well, it wasn't there yet. But no, because I have real racist stuff in the other stuff. It's not racist, though. It's just because I'm the idiot overall. No one I tease, am I teasing more than I tease myself? Like, I'm empty. Like, I've been kicked too many times in my life, I guess. Not now, but then. And what I'm saying isn't, I feel like when you care, that's when they have you. Like, that's when they get you, is when you're like, well, you hear the apologies when somebody goes, "If I offended anyone," that's not an apology. Right. Apology is, I should not have said that, period. It's like, if I hit you, if it hurt when I hit you, I'm sorry. You're not supposed to hit people. If you're sorry you said it, say that. But I'm not sorry I said it because it's all truthful. My experience is what I share on stage. I don't really write jokes. I'm not a great joke writer. I'm a really great, this happened to me, I want to share it with you. What it hurt.
Yeah, you're a narrator.
Yep.
I'm a narrator. My girl, you got it. The psychiatrist said to me before the lockdown, he goes, "Why do you call them girls?" I was like, "Oh boy." More important than them because I'm a man, I guess. I don't know. I said, "There's a girl." I went, "Oh, now I can't even look up because I'm embarrassed."
Yeah, but see, that's the thing. You're incredibly honest, and you know what? Honesty is going to come with you saying whatever you think, and you're honest in the special. There's a section in the middle where you talk about marriage that you're very honest about. You were honest on this just in this conversation about what you've gone through.
I would do it again. I'm just saying, I can tell. That's a great bit, man. I had forgotten about it because of the lockdown. Wow, that bit.
Well, after Rob and I both watched your special, and then we were talking about the nail salon, and Rob's like, "It was really funny, but I don't really know what goes on in nail salons." I go, "No, everything Jay said is exactly what goes on there."
Yeah, it's. I didn't realize like round nails, square nails was like versus blood.
I thought you were going to bring up the clear polish.
No, my ex-wife used to get clear polish, and that was in one version of that story. Like, you want clear polish?
They always ask the men if they want clear polish.
And then, if I'm not mistaken, that bit was just kind of for that special. I actually deconstruct the accent. Don't I explain?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, I cracked the code.
They leave the end off of every word.
The last letter of the and I'm generalizing, of course, Vietnamese women at nail salons that I've been to, they'll say, like, what's your name?
Like NAY.
Nice name. Not beautiful. And of course, I pick words that don't have the letter missing.
And leading you with the nod is great too.
Yeah. Like, we know you don't understand, so we can't even. And no matter what name you say, they're like, ooh, beautiful name. You're like, hey,
I just sneezed.
my name is Mellifluous.
Tracy Morgan's name is Mellifluous. He got it right.
That's another one, the Tracy Morgan, the Clint Eastwood story.
Chino, yeah, everybody got one.
I love his impression.
Except now, I'm Tracy Morgan. Yeah. Al Pacino, Tracy Morgan. Al Pacino, I'm Tracy Morgan.
Little difference. I hear things like that my whole life. As a kid, I realized Kermit the Frog is the exact same voice as Ernie. Exact. But they didn't even try. I'll prove it, right? This was in the special, but I didn't put it in the special. Hi, Kermit the Frog here. Here I am at Sesame Street Rules, the house of the three little pigs. Hey, Bert.
It is the same.
I'm just saying about my favorite number. Well, what is your favorite number? Hi, Kermit the Frog here. Same voice.
He does always introduce himself.
Yeah. Yeah, it's funny. Before this started, I'm thinking I'm not going to ask him to do impression like he's a fucking circus.
I knew I was going to.
Right, and that's great.
I said it. Any comic that doesn't want to promote themselves is an asshole.
Yeah. Well, I tell you, the
Last comic standing, I had NBC producers say to me, "Can you call this guy, and this guy, who we really want on the show?" And I remember looking at Jeff Gaspin going, "No, I'm not going to call a comedian and talk him into going on NBC as himself in primetime. No, I'm not doing that. No. If you're going to sabotage that, good luck to you."
Well,
what's your bag, Rob? What's your bag?
My bag? What do you mean, my bag?
I don't know. It's an old expression. What's your bag? Like, what's his deal?
I mean, you're looking at one of my bags right now. This is one of my.
Yeah, big.
This is one. Oh, impression wise, I only got one. All I got is Cheech, which I did for Tommy Chong.
He does a good Cheech.
Which is good. But
I never heard of Cheech.
You never heard a Cheech impression?
Are you gonna do it or no? I'm not looking at you.
Oh, yeah, you ready?
Yeah.
All right.
I
did it 2 weeks in a row. Mexican Americans don't like to get up early in the morning, but they have to, so they do it real slow.
Wow. As soon as you open your mouth,
it's like education, so they go to night school and take Spanish and get a B.
It's up here, man.
I love how happy it makes you.
No, it really does.
Yeah. I would think that was my sister. I'm like, oh, yeah, it's great.
Mohr, yeah.
Jay, do your sons love the impressions?
No. They're really, I'm the least interesting person to them.
Yeah.
It's fascinating. Like, they're the only guys on earth that don't find me to be a carnival. Every other child's like, oh my God. My landlord's daughter had like a sleepover, and he actually goes, "We're having a sleepover. You got to come by." I'm like, "All right," because they might teach me to braid hair or something. When you have boys, it's like having apes. When you have girls, it's like Real Housewives of New Jersey. There's fucking stories, backstories, there's history, and fuck Tessa. always, if you had apes in your house, it'd be more interesting, at least because at least the ape would follow you with his eyes. Like, what is he doing?
Right.
My son, I'll look at my son and go, "You got to brush your teeth." He goes, "Yeah." I go, "You don't know what I just said, do you?" He goes, "No."
Not even listening.
I'm talking to you only. We're in a bunk bed together. Like, yeah, I got divorced and I sleep in the bottom bunk. That's how I get down.
What did he say with the clown?
He goes,
Oh wow! I don't remember what was in the special until I got it out of mind. It's a great special.
he goes, no, he goes, his son goes,
Yeah,
Dad,
we're
it's a person dressed like a clown.
Look, Mackie, there's a clown. And he goes, "No, that's just a guy dressed like a clown." Like vaginal clown births, like a clown hospital. A clown OBGYN gets down and gets hit in the face with seltzer. Then like 40 clowns come out like a clown car. Beep, beep, beep. That's what he actually said. And then he didn't remember feeding a giraffe at the zoo with a bottle.
How do you not remember that?
I don't remember. I'm like, you don't remember? It was last year. We were in the enclosure. We weren't at it. We were in it. Like a giraffe's dick was above my head. I'm holding my baby who's holding a bottle, and a baby giraffe born that week that was 6'8". Beautiful, like Rick Fox, like take you out of your game, like oh hi Rick Fox.
No memory at all.
He goes, "Are we to the zoo?" I'm like, "Oh my god!" He goes, "Oh my god!" I go, "You remember?" He goes, "That's where the toilets flush by themselves."
That was what he remembers.
And the trash can was a gorilla, and I kept putting trash in the gorilla's mouth. I go, "And you fed a giraffe, and you fed a rhino, a head of lettuce that listened to Beck." No,
No memory of that.
by themselves. So, look, the divorce thing, I'd forgotten that material completely, and I didn't realize. I knew I liked it. I didn't know I loved it. Like the difference dating and acting out, going to that party.
Yeah. Before and after.
I was like, "This is Anthony." I know. Oh my god. You can talk to her. It's okay. You can talk to her. And then Meredith's like, "I had to bring Anthony."
Well, what was the line, Lori? Loved that one line with the.
I feel like we're giving the whole thing away, but when
No one is anything talking about. I promise.
the bathroom stuff, I love bathroom humor. So
Because I don't disappoint anybody in there.
right,
Puss comes out.
what was
Yeah.
I doing in there so long? I don't disappoint anyone when I'm in there.
Dude, I realize I still do it. When I sit on the toilet, it's also the only time I sit down all day. I eat standing up because I got a kid running me ragged because I did his hot dog wrong. Well, I don't know how my son doesn't drown when it's raining. My 9-year-old. It's amazing. He goes, "Dad, you have your remote on you?" I'm in my pajamas in that little kitchenette making toast. I'm like, "What?" He's in the room, my bedroom. It was next to the TV. I've never put the TV on. Ever, literally ever. I've never put that TV on. He's like, "I'm gonna watch TV." I go, "Do you have the remote on you?" He goes, "No." He goes, "Here's the TV. There's a remote." I don't know how he missed it. Fakes washing his hands. I know that's in the special, probably. Yeah. When he, like, went to the bathroom, he had dog shit on his hands. I'm like, "Oh my god, wash your hands!" And I hear, "Shh." He was pretending to wash his hands. Faucet. Anyway, and I'm like, "Who does that?" And I realized I did that.
You've done that too.
And Chris Farley has done that.
Yeah.
I love a callback. Give me a bump. Bomo. Beautiful, Lori. And Rob, I'm gonna tell you something. You made me forget I was talking about me. That's never happened before. That's how comfortable I was with you, brother. I'll come back and promote the poetry book another time.
Yeah, absolutely. You were reading us some poetry from your book, and I would love for you to come back. And
I will. I would love to, for real. And the special's at jmohr.com. I don't even know what it costs, but I know people are selling specials for $5. But I can tell you this one's better.
yeah, let me tell everybody that it doesn't matter what it costs, number one, because it really is very, very funny. And I'm going to put this up on the bottom too. But once again, watch Jay Mohr. He has his new special, American Treasure. It's available on Comcast, Amazon Prime
I
Video,
love the title.
Apple, YouTube, and more through the Comedy Dynamics Network hybrid distribution system. You know, we're in the future when this is how stuff's getting released.
You know, I didn't learn the one-click place, so I do know my website, jmohr.com. And there's poems on it too and stuff. There's a lot of good stuff on my website, jmohr.com, MOHR. So that's a place I know it is.
Mm-hmm. And you do a podcast, More Stories, which you've been doing for a long time. You actually did both of us ran a network at one point. I ran the Riotcast network out of the Comedy Cellar. Yep, that was my network. Yep. And at one point, I remember I reached out to you to see if you wanted to join, and I think the response was, "I have my own network, bro." It was pretty close to that.
I wasn't a jerk though, was I?
No. It was just a quick email back, and normally I wouldn't get a response. So you did. You were like, "I have my own network, bro, but thanks," because you had fake mustache at the time.
Yeah, I had a bunch of. My idea was what it should be, and that's I have all these podcasts. I have the bandwidth, and then like the advertisements. You get your 30, they get 70 or whatever, and then it's just paying for bandwidth. I was making. I mean, maybe I remember at my radio show when I had it, the guy that kind of ran stuff there. I love that guy. He just goes, that's what I was doing 2 a week, and it was like $34,000 a year. Mm-hmm. And I was like, how is that possible?
Yep.
I've been talking about squatty potties and fucking something.
I know. It's funny because early on. When you had a podcast network or a podcast early on when because we've been doing this 10 years, people thought it was like a ham radio show. They were like, "Oh God, he's got a podcast network," So
ham radio is the best.
That's what people thought. It's like they think you in your basement with fucking tinfoil on your head, and now all of a sudden Spotify's giving Rogan millions and millions of dollars. So
not me. I have no commercials.
Yeah.
I can't. I've had conversations that have changed my life. Like, Ray Mancini talking about killing a guy in the ring. Gary Goldman opening up about his depression. Mm-hmm. Duff from Guns N' Roses. Bootsy Collins, the greatest line ever in my pocket. I don't want to go, hold that thought. Hey, you ever fuck a fleshlight with your dick?
No. You know what? You're so right on, especially because those were the only commercials. It would be fucking Adam and Eve. It would be like, and I'm not going to get these this, but whatever.
Sponsored now. I know that. And God bless them.
Yeah.
Let's be honest. Mine and your podcast, your guys and me, have more listeners than every morning New York City radio show combined. Mm-hmm. From AM, from Boomer and Carton in the day to, except you got to take Howard Stern out because he's the god of it all. But it's like 1 million people. There's no way you're getting 1 million New Yorkers to listen to you on a radio show because they're doing their own thing. It's by appointment. They choose to listen to your podcast.
Yep.
They have the same interests as you. So when you go, I vouch for this book, this CD, you can't steer them wrong. It's been really. Let me tell you what Bootsy Collins said on the podcast. And this is my favorite. I think somebody asked me what my favorite moment was. Mm-hmm. 8 years of hours-long talks for each person. Bootsy Collins, when he was playing for James Brown, hadn't been paid. He was 18 years old. He had a fee. He was told to ask James Brown for like $250 a week. And James Brown goes, "I'll give you $300. The similar lot of people dying." And then he's in my garage in the Palisades. He goes, and back then I was like $1 million. And he looks down, he looks back up, and he was almost crying. He goes, "It was $1 million."
Wow.
It was. You know exactly what he's talking about.
Yep. Yeah.
I stand up. I got $50 in Buffalo. It was a school night. I had to drive all the way back to New Jersey. I masturbated twice on the Pennsylvania Turnpike to not crash and die. Fucking out of here. $50. It was $1 million. I made $1 million. Didn't notice compared to that $50. Whoa! In my pocket at high school that day.
Wow.
Yeah, I got really fired up there. You guys are great, and I'm just stalling because I don't want it to be over.
No, you can hang a little more. And, it's funny because
I get murdered tonight. I haven't told you guys that. It's Dateline. We're doing a special live Dateline.
Well, it's funny because we're almost 300 episodes now. And my favorite moments are those that aren't like you in the middle of this, episode, you got a lot more personal about addiction and everything. That's the stuff I love too. Like we had on Billy Hayes, that movie Midnight Express. We had We had the real Billy Hayes on, and for 2.5 hours, he told us the whole story beginning to end from his perspective. And normally, when I'm doing a show, there, I'll either have Lori or I'll have someone with me. Most of the time, it's Lori or Chris from our show, and I kind of look at them sometimes to gauge, because when we were at the 2.5 hour point, and I'm like, my heart is beating listening to his escape story, and I'm like, I hope everybody thinks this is as good as I am. And I'm looking at them, and they're like, there was a couch with
the actor that played Billy Hayes.
Yeah, and they're so no,
they're real Billy Hayes.
Real Billy Hayes. Real Billy Hayes. Yep. So I'll send you the link afterwards. So he's telling this story, and I'm looking at everybody in the room, and they're all like, there was a couch in the cellar studio, and they're all clutching the pillows, like holding it, like leaning in, like, and that was, to me, was one of my favorites, because there might have been one giggle in the whole thing, but who gives a shit? Like, it's an incredible story. And, that's why your Bootsy Collins stories and stuff like that, I get. Those are the ones that mean the most to me.
You said the magic words, though, leaning in. That's the secret to comedy to me. I used to go on stage and just bang, bang, whack-a-mole, bang, 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 bang. Just knock the shit out of the whole crowd the whole time. And then I realized, when it's fucking silent, I have all the power. And I don't care. I'm not uncomfortable with it. But it takes like 20 years to get not uncomfortable with that. So that your heart's racing. That's great. I can't believe you had that guy.
Yeah, he was fantastic. And if you want to have more stories, I'll connect you, because he's a great dude. He told us the whole thing, and honestly, it could have been another hour. I wouldn't have been fazed by it. It really would.
Davey Eccles on. He was on Death Row, the West Memphis 3.
Oh,
yeah,
that's a great one.
4 days. I was at the St. Regis in New York on the fourth. Who gets a fucking room on the fourth floor in Manhattan? But this asshole. Like, it's $2,000 a night. I get the fourth. He walks in. He looks out the window. He goes, "It's the other roof." He goes, "What a view, man." I was like, I haven't looked out the window yet. Before we recorded, he goes, "Wow, what a view."
Yeah.
It's like weird, barns that hold water on top of a roof. Yeah. Yeah, I can't wait to listen to your Billy Hayes. And thanks for having me, you guys. Look, I'm gonna hit subscribe on my phone when we're done.
I appreciate that. I really do. And anybody who's just listening to the audio of this, go to thewholepodcast.com. All of our interviews are up there on video. You've got this interview with Jay, which is fantastic. You've got Tommy Chong. We just had Tom Arnold on. There's so many episodes to check out. He was great, man.
We loved him.
You want to talk about somebody who, after we were scheduled for 45 minutes, and I'm looking at the clock, it's like 2 hours and 5. And when it was done, he's like, I'm sorry it was too long. I'm like, it wasn't too long. It was great.
He had his kids walking around us.
That happens every single podcast ever with me. It's like my kids don't find me interesting unless I'm recording. It's like, "Hey, Dad. Hey, Dad." His boys talk like the sun's in their eyes. They're so stupid. It's 1 a.m. They're like, "Hey, Dad, are you awake?" They're like squinted out. And Tom Arnold's one of those guys. When you meet him, anybody that says anything negative about him, you're like, "Watch your fucking mouth."
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel protective of him.
About him on action, like, "Hey, God, you got some answering to do too. Flood, famine, Tom Arnold," and I'm like, "Oh, wow, I can't believe that joke ever got out." I didn't know who he was.
Yeah.
But it's like, he's one of those guys. Everybody has their opinion, me especially. If people have opinions about me, they think I'm a jerk from Jerry Maguire, I guess. But Tom Arnold's one of those guys, you meet him and you just feel foolish for having any preconceived notions. He's a beautiful guy.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah.
And
His mouth.
you guys?
You know what? Now, why'd I have to say something nasty because I was being all sweet?
I couldn't hear what you said. So.
Just,
Well, if you don't mind, before we go, I'd love to get a quick ID from you.
Oh, first, do you fuck couples?
Yes. If it's your husband, yeah. Sure. I'm getting a 10. Oh, man. I was getting a 10 because I forgot what you said, but I'll think you'll make it easy.
All right. If you could just lean in and give us, this is Jay Mohr. You listen to the whole podcast. That's it. It's nice and simple.
Hi, this is Jay Mohr. You're listening to The Whole Podcast. Hello, this is Christopher Walken. Yeah, it's The Whole that you're listening to. Podcast. It's a podcast called The Whole. Yeah.
whenever I'm getting Portuguese women pregnant like Tracy Morgan, I go listen to the whole podcast. That was terrible. That didn't even make sense or
Wait,
sound.
do Norm.
Yeah, you know, that gal Lori and that guy Rob, they put them together on a Zoom call. They have the whole podcast there. The whole, I don't know how to call it. Oh, they could have called it. They should just call it, hey, look at her. Look at that girl, you'd marry her.
All right, now I need Clint. One more.
I cannot begin to tell you how happy I am you're listening to the whole.
I love this. I'm crying.
Jay, thank you so much, man. I really appreciate it. It was great hanging with you, and come back anytime.
I want a signed copy of the book.
Huh?
I want my signed copy of the poetry book.
Yeah, you'll text me an address to send this, and I'll send you both one. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, this is wonderful. I like when I meet new friends, man. You guys are really cool. You have myself, so text me that link, and yeah, that's my number. Use it whenever you want, bro.
Hold on, I'll wrap it up, and then just hang on 1 second, okay?
Yeah.
Thank you again for listening to The Whole one more time. Please go to thewholepodcast.com. It also helps if you can go to iTunes, subscribe, review. Jay, you know this jam used to say it all the time, I'm sure, too. But go to thewholepodcast.com. Everything is there, all the videos that you need. And most importantly, check out Jay's special, American Treasure. Just go to jmohr.com. He's got all the links there. That's all you need. Nice and easy. And Jay, thanks again. And later, motherfuckers.
Thanks, Jay.